Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Welcome, everybody, to Baka, our mini-sode. We're not talking about anime tonight, but we are. We're not talking about a specific one. We're not doing our normal book club routine. This is where we just talk for a short amount of time, relatively to our normal conversations. Again, Jason is not with us. We recorded this at the same time as our last episode, and he is still praying to his porcelain god, and we hope he feels better soon. I'm not even going to make up any facts about him, and I'm not even going to give him a silly name. We miss him, and we hope he heals well. That's a thing, right? You can wish someone to heal well.
Yeah, especially with what he's got. Ugh.
This does make you the tougher of the two co-hosts of the podcast because you were sick for ReZero.
I was there, man.
And you just, you kept the toilet right next to the...
That's right. They don't know how many times we paused so I could lean over. Blah.
Guys, today we are talking about one of Jeremy's favorite topics of all time. It's his mini-sode tonight. We're going all out on Mecha. And I need Jeremy's help because he is the gun to my dam.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's good.
Yes. And so tonight we are talking about the Mecha, specifically the difference between Western Mecha and Eastern Mecha, what we see a lot in anime. So, Jeremy, go ahead and set this up for us. What are we getting ourselves into?
Well, I love mechs. I have loved them since I was a little kid, and I got a cardboard box starter set of BattleTech. I had no idea that it had anything to do with MechWarrior, right? So for me, I grew up on the Western mechs, and I thought they were amazing, and that is my preference, right? These big, stompy, slow, plodding mechs. And later, I discovered anime. And I saw Gundam. I can't remember which particular Gundam series I saw, but those mechs were so big. They were so fast.
My first Gundam was Gundam Wing.
That's probably what it was, on Cartoon Network? On Cartoon
Network with Toonami. Yeah, I still love Gundam Wing. That was such a great Gundam series.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, these are not mechs. These things are too powerful. They're too fast. I'm not getting the set. Like, I remember that with BattleTech, right? These things, it was the classic BattleTech. So these things were no longer being printed, basically. The manufacturing centers had shut down, according to the lore. And so they were being handed down through families. They were like suits of armor in a feudal society. And only the nobles had a suit of armor. And so these mechs were something that would be salvaged together, and just the whole story that went behind these mechs started my impression of what a mech should be and how cool it is. And so for me, when I saw Gundam, and then later I saw, or Gundam Wing, and then later I saw Robotech, parts of Robotech. I've never actually seen the whole thing. I'm terrible. I have to watch that. I know it's super important. And then the Armored Core video game, right? You're starting to see like there's this really strong pattern that in Eastern mechs, it prioritizes speed, but it also doesn't, like, you don't lose the firepower. They have so much more firepower than Western Mecha. So what is the real difference? Like, how do we quantify it, and why? Why is that difference there? So relatively consistently. And what's your favorite type?
Well, I did not grow up on BattleTech. I played MechWarrior, I think, with you and with Jason, and wasn't very good at those games. So I grew up wanting to be a pilot, like fighter jets, space fighters. That was my dream. Star Wars, big influence in that. X-Wing, Millennium Falcon. So when I watched Robotech, I hated when they switched to their mecha. I was like, hey, go back to the jet. That was so cool.
That's the opposite. That's great.
But I do mostly prefer the anime mecha, and I think the big difference is when you have an anime mecha, you really just have a large character. They run and jump. You literally just put them in a superhero body that's ginormous, and that's really how anime mecha works. It's literally just giving you a superhero. like you said with the Western, they're heavy, they're plodding. They are tanks on legs.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, is the biggest difference. Whereas on the other side, they can fly, they can jump, how many enemies have you seen where they have rollerblades on the mechas for no reason?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they all slide. It's so strange to me. I mean, I have played Armored Core. I also love the Front Mission games, and even Front Mission Evolved. It's a mech game. I get to play in a mech. It's great. It's fun. But you're moving around so fast. Take that and stand it up next to MechWarrior Online, right? It's fun. It's not MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries because I can't play it solo and there's no campaigns yet, but it's still fun. And the feeling is so incredibly different. Like you say, even if they're not transforming, you still get more of a sense of it being a fast-moving jet or of a superhero. But it makes me wonder, what is it trying to solicit, or what is it trying to elicit? What response from the audience, or what type of concept? Because you'd agree with me that having this slow plodding tank is going to get a different reaction from the audience and a different perception of the characters.
So in Western, I would think they're definitely trying to go with that tank vibe. They're trying to show you military might, and that's what these machines are signifying and empowering. They are the military might of these armies. In anime, they're trying to show you cool characters that look awesome, and they have a lot more built towards, I mean, Japan's big in the robot technology, right?
Yeah.
They're on the forefront of love bots. That's pretty cliche. But they build a lot of great robots, and you see that come out of there. So I think their mecha are really just pilot-controlled, human-controlled robots that they made ginormous, right?
Yeah. Which is funny because specifically in BattleTech lore, that's what those robots are too, is they're I know people who like BattleTech but don't know the lore well enough, they would actually be irritated if they hear you call it a robot, but technically it is. It actually has a computer brain and it operates in tandem with the pilot, etc. So it does the same thing that you're describing.
I meant the anime ones.
I know.
The anime ones were the robots. I would never call your mech warriors robots. I'm sorry, guys.
No, they are. They are. And for anyone who doesn't like that, I'm sorry, you just got to look it up in the lore. That's what they are. But I wonder, because when I look at Gundam, or I look at Gurren Lagann, Gurren Lagann definitely fits what you're saying about it being a character. But Gundam, Robotech, right? I get the sense that they're also trying to give an impression of military might. But that military might, it's almost twofold, because the military might is presented by using mechs, but then you have these massively powerful character mechs that show up and completely annihilate the military mechs that stand up for military might. It's almost like they're doing the same thing for the background. They're saying like, look, yeah, this is like Western mechs, even though they're faster, right? But they present the military might. But then these giant main characters will stand up as somebody that you care about, get behind, have high octane adrenaline pumping scenes. You can't really get that in Western mechs very easily.
I think in animes, I think you see a lot that the background mechs have a lot more in common with the Western style mechs. While they may still be faster, they are the more lumbering, squarish mechs, and they're the cannon fodder for the real mech of the anime, right? And that's what you usually see blowing up is the things that look like they came out of Mech Warrior are usually in the background of the anime, just blowing up by the dozen.
Exactly, by the dozen.
But to me, that ties into what I said, that the mechs in anime they're the superheroes. They're the superhero form of these characters, because they almost sometimes have personalities. When their arm breaks off, the pilot goes, "Oh, my arm!" Even though there's no reason for that.
Yeah. Neural feedback. It must be.
And like I said, you see them fly. They can take out entire armies in a blast. the reason I don't consider that military might is just because I consider that them being a superhero. Whereas you see a mech and mech warrior, but you see a half a dozen very similar mechs side by side with it, while they have different abilities, different weapons, they are still very similar in what they can do. So while those cannon fodder mechs in anime represent the military might, turns out when they go up against a superhero, and it doesn't work out so well.
It's almost granularity. It's almost like what you're trying to do is present with the Western mechs this sense of simulation, this sense of realism, this sense of hard sci-fi, if you would. Like, we're trying to get to something that when you look at it, you go, oh, that's not so different from a modern day technologically advanced tank, right? This is possible given a few years advancement. Whereas then when you look at, say, any of the ones we mentioned, you go, that is so awesome. That is amazing. But yeah, we're not even close to that technology yet. That is so far advanced. So it becomes a little more abstract and a little bit more able to focus on the story of the character and on the character's decisions. And it's almost like everything involving the mechs is the backdrop of the painting. But the centerpiece is all about that character, all about that story. Whereas I would argue that in many cases with Western mechs and whatnot, it's the story is far smaller, or it's meant to be more real and less abstract. It's my preference. I like that.
There are a few series, and I wrote them down, that bridge the gap between the two.
Yes.
Metal Gear, I think, does a really good job of finding some kind of balance between the two. Especially when you have in Metal Gear Solid 1, you have Metal Gear Rex, which is a bipedal tank, really, that has a nuclear missile. And then in 2, you have Metal Gear Ray, which is this more dinosaur-looking thing. It can jump through the air and swim.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice to kind of see that both are represented there.
That's true.
The other one I have is have you seen Pacific Rim?
Oh, yeah. I actually like that a lot.
So that while it has the appearance of the anime, and very obviously heavily inspired by anime mecha, they aren't super fast, even though sometimes they were, right? But you see them like lumbering through the ocean, and that fist comes in and slowly moving in, but smashes into something so hard. So that's a little bit of a bridge between the two.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have to clarify that while I say I really liked that film, that doesn't mean I didn't see all the massive holes and incredible loops of logic. So, yeah. But it was so much fun.
There are so many series that you do that too, that it's like, no, you have to not think about it. It's very important you don't think about Pacific Rim while you watch Pacific Rim. Because it's a work of art without your brain.
Yes, that's exactly how I'd put it. Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with you that there's actually on both sides, there's bridging of the gap. Like, for instance, Transformers is technically by many considered to be sort of a Western mech show. And many of them fall into a similar category to Macross and Robotech, because they've got like a jet mode, Starscream, right? And others. So that's a little similar too. And Big O on the anime side. I mean, that thing's pretty lumbering.
Yeah, right? Oh, absolutely.
You remember how lumbering that was.
You can't even, I mean, he has to have it transported to the fight because it's so big and lumbering.
Yeah. So in the end, I guess the difference is what you make of it, because you're going to find things you like in either genre. I mean, you will find the big plotting mechs in anime if you look for them. If you find the series that have that, they do exist. And you can find the fast, darty ones in Western if you look for it. So at least your preference will always be available.
What is your favorite anime mech?
My favorite anime mech?
Mine was... What was that anime? The Gargantua of... I know you've seen it. Where the guy he travels to Earth in a different time, and everyone lives on the ocean, and he has his super advanced mech that goes with him.
Oh, yeah. They go underneath the water. And
right.
there's
the mech totally has its own personality. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name. We'll have to put it in the show notes. We'll have to. Or you can find it now.
Yeah, or I have this thing called a phone.
There you go. No, it's good, though, because you've given me a chance to think about this.
Gargantia of the Verdurious. Okay, I can't say that word. I'm an idiot. Where's Jason to laugh at me when I need it? You'll have to fill in, Jeremy. Thank you. It's like he's here.
That's right. Okay, Robotech. Yeah.
It's pronounced.
I like the Robotech missiles.
Sorry.
Verdure?
Verdure. But it has an S in it. I don't know what's happening. Gargantia of the Verdure planet.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I'm gonna go with Robotech. That's my final answer. Yeah, Robotech.
Okay, then if you go with Robotech, what's your favorite mode? The bipedal mode?
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
Wrong.
No, it's the best. It's totally the best because it's so close to BattleTech. It's awesome. There's scout mechs and medium mechs that might look like that.
I always did enjoy how they explained how the mechs in Robotech operated from the pilot. Like, there's no way you have that many controls that you can control hands and feet. And it's because the helmet works with your brain. They do have a neural link. So you think about your hands squeezing a trigger. And the mech will pull the trigger on the gun. And I like that they explained that in that anime and in the book series that I read. That was always one of my favorite things about Robotech, because I could imagine myself flying those things. Where other mechs, I'm like, you pull levers and you hit buttons and it does the thing. I don't know. Yep. I can't imagine myself flying those because I don't know how they work. With Robotech, they gave me that logical, plausible explanation, and I could embrace that and imagine myself flying those things.
Well, here's something that's just a fun little tidbit of information for anybody out there that doesn't already know this, and likes BattleTech or Robotech. There was a series of mechs for BattleTech that actually received a cease and desist order because they are pretty much directly photocopies of Robotech mechs. And they could transform. They're called land air mechs, LAMs. And they have finally been re-released in BattleTech. And so you can play, I think it's the Stinger and like the Hornet or something like that, but you can play as these mechs. And they're straight out of Robotech.
Wow. I think
along with the neural helmets and everything. Yeah. Yep. So it's funny. I think it's ironic because the mechs that I love so much actually were inspired by the mechs that, well, I don't really care for them as much. It's a sad thing.
But it's fair. I mean, hey, you can't help what you're exposed to start with and where your tastes are.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I don't know what kind of mechs that Jason would like, and I'm not going to venture a guess because I would never just make up facts about him.
Never dare.
Okay, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. We are currently watching 91 Days, the 12-episode anime, and so I hope you are enjoying that. If you would like to reach us and tell us what you think about the difference between Western and anime mechs, or what your favorite anime mech was, or just how awesome Pacific Rim was, and how great that sequel with John Boyega. Oh no, I did it again. John Boyega will be. Reach us on Twitter at Baka Podcast, or email, all one word, lowercase, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or comment on wherever you found this podcast to be, whether it be YouTube, iTunes, Twitter, whatever you need. It's everywhere. Hit play and tell us what you think. That'll be it for us. I'm gonna go fly my robot to bed. That's also a thing.
That sounds great. Wow.
Hey, we should really stop recording these after I take a long trip to Seattle.
I know, yeah. I can tell you would rather be in bed sleeping.
Look, I am 100% on my game. Everything that went wrong was due to the person who didn't show up.
Yep, you can blame Jason. That's what happens when you're not here, man.
Okay, guys, have a great week. Say goodbye.
Have a great night, guys.
Sayonara.